but is it a big problem or a small problem? Hi everyone, we're back with my 68 Camaro, and today we're going to check everything that's wrong with this car and also talk about my future plans with it. And as you guys may have seen from the delivery video, it really doesn't look like there's anything wrong with it. It looks in pretty good condition exterior wise, but once you get to the inside and the undercarriage, there's things with it, some that did surprise me. Okay, so starting with the front of the car, this grille needs some refreshing because it's just seen better days. And also something that's very important to me that I want to get fixed right away are these hideaway covers. I really want to make them automatic because right now I have to open and close them with my hands. It may be a little bit hard to see due to all of the dust and all of the dirt that this car has, but the paint is in really good condition overall. It does have some scratches on the hood and mainly on the cowl part, but that's very minor because overall it's in pretty good state. A big problem is that the doors don't have locks. So if I were to take this Camaro anywhere, anyone is free to just, if they notice, they can just open the door and go inside if they wish. Another thing is that these rear quarter windows are loose. So this one is a little bit looser on the passenger side, and this one is very loose on the driver's side. This rear section needs mostly a refresh. Maybe I need to get new parts. I'm not sure yet, but these tail lights, it's pretty much just like the grille. Maybe I need to clean them up. Maybe I can restore them. Maybe I need to buy new parts. Depends on how they look when I try just refreshing them. And also this gas cap. Overall, they've seen better days. Let's start with these doors. This is what they look like. They're just bare metal. They don't have anything on it. And it actually did come with the original door panels, but let me show you how they look because I cannot reuse them. This is what the door panels look like. So you can see it's in pretty bad state. I cannot do anything with it. The only thing that I can probably reuse are the trim pieces and also this little Camaro sign. But other than that, there's nothing I can do. And look at all of this here too. Everything is in just bad condition and cannot be reused at all. The good thing about the Camaro, unlike the Mustang, is that I can actually go inside and sit down because the Mustang, as you guys saw, is just filled with spiders. This one is pretty clean, but the seat is very uncomfortable. I can't adjust it. I can't find where to adjust it. So I can't even see over the hood. I can't reach the pedals. And it's also very uncomfortable because it's bottomed out. I might as well sit on the metal. That's how uncomfortable it is. So let me show you what the seats look like. At first glance, these seats don't look that bad. They look better, at least than the Mustang, but you can see it is falling apart here. And like I said, this cushion is really thin. I might as well sit on the metal. I can't find anywhere to adjust it. The only thing that I can do is I can move this so I can go to the rear. And the passenger side, like in every car, like in almost every classic car, it's in better condition than the driver. If I'm going to replace one, I'm going to replace both of them. The biggest thing in the interior is that there's zero carpeting. This is exactly how it looks. There's no carpeting in the rear. There's no carpeting on the passenger, on the driver's side, nothing. So this is, I would say, a good and bad thing. Bad is that there's no carpeting. Good is that I can pretty much just start new. Even though I can start fresh with the carpeting, there's going to be a few challenges because it is tubbed and there's also a half roll cage in here. So I'm not sure if they sell just carpeting for that setup right there, or pretty much I'm just going to have to customize the carpeting. The entire dash needs to be worked on. It just needs to be restored completely. There's no glove compartment. There's nothing here. I don't know if I will add like a radio or anything or just leave that empty. There's just a massive hole here in the center console that this needs to be addressed. These gauges are in the middle of my way, and I also do not like the placement of them. These, I believe, work, but I don't think the original gauges work. So if they don't work, I want to fix those. And then on the dash, there's also some rips and cracks here. That's mainly due to the sun, but pretty much this whole dash needs to be just worked on completely. There is no headliner in this car, and that is something that I do not plan on doing just because I know it's a lot of work. So I rather take that to a shop, to a professional that knows what they're doing to do the headliner. But that'll be probably one of the last things that I do to this car once I'm finished restoring it all completely. There's also a big hole on the driver's side floor panel, and this is due to rust. Now, I knew that there was rust on this car when I bought it, and I was aware of this hole. I don't think it's something major. I think it's something that can easily be replaced, but I'll show you the extent of this once we raise the car up. Before I raise the Camaro, let me just give you a quick look of these side by side. We have the new school Camaro and we have the old school Camaro. So just like with the Mustang, I wanted to make sure that I placed the arms correctly before raising the car up. So with the Camaro, I have the arms placed directly under the frame rail and not under the pinch weld, because with this one, I can actually access the frame rail with the arms. It's not as further in as with the Mustang. I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit scared raising this car because having these big tires here in the rear, I don't know if they're heavy. They look heavy, so I don't know if they were actually heavy. That was gonna kind of like unbalance the car. Going up the lift, I don't know if that would kind of like seem like it's a lot of weight, kind of like if it had like an engine here in the rear, but so far so good, so we're okay. This is what the rear looks like. So since this is tubbed due to a Pro Street setup, the suspension parts have been modified. So here are the coilovers that sit in the center. And let me tell you, this is a brand new setup to me because I've never had a tubbed car, but maybe now that I have this one, I may have more in the future. So that's the coilovers, which they look kind of old. There's nothing wrong with the diff here. It looks pretty fine. There's no leaks unlike the Mustang. And there's also these other suspension parts here that look obviously like this has all been this new setup due to the Pro Street. This support brace is part of this entire system here, and this is welded on, so you can't do anything with this. The first day that I drove this Camaro, I almost died with all of the fumes that I kept inhaling. And now I see why. This explains it. Let me show you what I mean. There's a big hole here in the center console, but we already knew that because we saw that once we were inside the car. But it's not only that. This exhaust stops right here, which is right underneath where I sit. So it having that hole in the center console, all of the fumes are going up there, and therefore I'm inhaling it all. And that exhaust connects to what appears to be aftermarket long tube headers, which are right there. Now, when it comes to the transmission, there seems to be a small little leak right there. And then there's nothing wrong with the oil pan, no leaks. All right, so now let's get to the most serious problem that I'm just a little worried about. Let me show you. It seems to be a rust village here on the driver's side. So this hole is the one that we saw from the inside on the floorboard. And now there's this other hole here. This one hasn't eaten through the sheet metal yet, but it's pretty bad. And there's also 3 holes here, and this is eating through the sheet metal. And also this entire frame on the driver's side has rust. Luckily on the passenger side, there's no rust here on the frame, and there's also no holes. I've checked on all sides and there doesn't seem to be anything else. So all of the issue is on the driver's side. So I feel that all of this rust on the driver's side undercarriage is a problem, but is it a big problem or a small problem? So now when it comes to the front, there doesn't seem to be any issues. There's no rust and no areas of concern. So as far as what I plan to do underneath, I plan on replacing all of these suspension parts. I plan on replacing all of those drum brakes. I plan on replacing all of those drum brakes with disc brakes. I also plan on fixing all of that rust that's on the driver's side frame area and the sheet metal, and also figuring out a way to extend that exhaust further back, because right now I know that those suspension parts are in the way, so I need to come up with something. Here's the engine. I think there's nothing wrong with it because the car starts, but I will do a compression test because I want to see if there's anything wrong with the cylinders or not. If they're good, then great. I can hold off on tearing apart this engine. Now, if they're bad, I'll still hold off on tearing apart this engine because my main issue is that I really want to address all of that rust underneath there and get that resolved as quickly as possible. But other than that, it looks pretty good. I do want to replace this alternator because it looks pretty old. Something I really don't like are these big holes here on the side. So I plan on getting inner fender covers just to block that off. And I also want a wider tire setup. Now, I'm not going to get those covers now just because I really like the accessibility if I need to do any engine work here. And obviously I'm gonna hold off on that before I address a few things first. So that'll probably be one of the last things I do, but getting the wider wheels will probably come really soon. As far as the exterior, I really like this paint color, so I think I'm going to keep it. At first, I wasn't a big fan just because it's blue, the Mustang is blue, and I thought they were gonna look too similar, but it's a totally completely different shade. It looks a little bit indigo, so sometimes it looks blue, sometimes it looks purple, so it's grown on me, so I really like it. Another thing is that I want to add a side view mirror to the passenger side. I don't know why these classic cars didn't have these mirrors. Apparently, you had to turn around while driving, but I really want to add that just because it'll just make my life easier. All right, so that's it for my Camaro. You can see that from the surface, it looks pretty good, but it does need some work. My 2 main areas of concern that I want to get started on working first are getting rid of that rust and also the suspension. I don't know in what order, but I'm going to start on either one of the 2. So on the next Camaro video, we will start working on this car. I'll see you guys then. Bye.